This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. One thing that gives me great joy about catching Fox News clips is when things are going well for the economy, when they have to report on just how efficient Joe Biden is managing what was a pretty terrible situation coming out of the pandemic, with inflation and corporations gouging customers and raising their prices outside of some inflationary framework. And Fox News has to report on this. When gas prices were crazy high, it was Biden's fault. Now that they're back to normal, Biden gets no credit. And again, a president shouldn't get credit for rising or falling gas prices. Largely, it's out of the control. The market is out of the control of a single president and their policies. But back to the thesis here of watching Fox News twist and their stomachs get sour when they have to report on good news. And the unemployment numbers just came out from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and it was a good showing for Joe Biden and the economy right now. And it's interesting that we added so many new jobs, and they have to report on it. This is Maria Bartiromo. Again, I'm going to keep saying this every time I talk about it, Maria Bartiromo. Maria Bartiromo given an even greater platform going on with Bill Hemmer, the straight newsman. And this is the woman who brought us the conspiracy theory about Dominion voting systems. Remember the email that I'm continuing to talk about that she gave to Fox News viewers, except she didn't give the whole thing. The woman who wrote in to Sidney Powell, who then gave it to Maria Bartiromo, saying that the wind tells her she's a ghost, but she doesn't believe it, and a bunch of other wild, wild stuff. So this woman is being asked her opinion about the numbers, and then while praising, she has to find something to criticize, and she finds the stupidest thing available. Watch this.
Okay. Well, good morning to you, Bill and Dana. This is a good report, no doubt about it. 339,000 jobs, much better than expected. Bill, what I like about this report is the fact that the jobs created that we are looking at are high-paying jobs. You're talking about jobs in business and professional services, in healthcare. The government jobs, by the way, also up 56,000. So you've got jobs that are higher paying than leisure and hospitality, which has been where much of the bulk of the job creation has been. Leisure and hospitality. That's not the case this month. So that's a good story here, as well as a good story that it's better than expected overall. What I don't like about this report is the fact that unemployment is rising. The unemployment rate is now up to 3.7%. We also have a participation rate of 62.6%. What does that tell you? People do not want to go back to work. You see lots of these small businesses unable to open, have to shorten their hours because they can't find the workers to come back to work. I'm not crazy about the wage number. Wages, average hourly earnings rose 4.3%. Okay number, but still lower than inflation. In other words, inflation is still cutting into people's ability, and they're cutting into savings because they can't afford the inflation. All of this strong report that we're talking about has helped markets this morning, as well as the passage of the debt bill, of course, which, of course, investors reacted to right out of the gate this morning. But we now have an expectation that the Federal Reserve will take a pause in its next meeting. You've got the next Fed meeting on June 13th and June 14th. 75% of market participants say the Fed will likely take a pause, not raise rates again, and resume the raising of rates in the July meeting. We'll see if that changes as a result of this report. I'll point out that we get a very important inflation report out the day before we hear from the Fed on June 13th. The Consumer Price Index is out. So overall, good report. Some things to nitpick about. Certainly what I'm worried about right now is the tightening of credit.
The anguish is almost palpable. Let's talk about the things that she was concerned about, the thing I really don't like. We'll talk about unemployment in a second, but let's talk about this, the leading indicator here, which is wages. She's worried that wages are down, but she just talked about and praised that many, if not most, of the 339,000 jobs created this quarter were of higher income wages, which means that her concern about the wages being down is going to evaporate by next report. But she's not going to tell you that. You gotta noodle that through yourself. And, I think we all know the capacity of noodling things for a Fox News audience isn't great. But the unemployment numbers, I went to the Bureau of Labor Statistics for the last 10 years, and I pulled this chart. This shows you just where we are relative to unemployment in the United States, 3.7% unemployment, and how that applies to other time periods. You'll see the spike, this big gray bar here. This is George W. Bush. I mean, we won't get into when unemployment was highest and who was in office. Trump, George W. Bush. Predicated on Republican policies. I mean, one was COVID, which could have been handled differently, and we absolutely didn't have to have the kind of carnage job-wise or loss of life-wise that we experienced here in the United States. But 3.7% unemployment is historically low. It is radically different than it was in 2003, let's say, when George W. Bush was president. It ticked down, it spiked during the recession, and then it started ticking down again when Obama was president. And then Donald Trump took over, it spiked again, went up to like 14%. Anyway, this is nonsense. This is Fox News in a naked display of trying to find something wrong where there is nothing wrong. And Maria Bartiromo should not have a job after the fraud and scam that she perpetrated on the country, not just on the Fox News audience, but gave oxygen to the conspiracy theory about election fraud in the 2020 election. Gave oxygen to the nuttiness of a conspiracy theory woman who believes that the wind tells her she's a ghost and she doesn't believe it. Who believes that SCOTUS Justice Antonin Scalia was murdered in a human hunting expedition. And Maria Bartiromo still has a job to go on with Bill Hemmer and talk about her opinions about the markets or anything else. No credibility. Anyway, what do you think about all of this? Do these moments bring you as much joy as they do me? Because they do. They really do. What do you think? I'd love to know. You can call. Leave me a brief voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me, as always, daily@dollemore.com. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Oftentimes, you just get served my content because it's on the side, the recommended bar, or in a browse feature, or on the homepage of YouTube. But if you haven't actually clicked the subscribe button, which is free, subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get to 500,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and it's only with your help that I'm going to be able to do it, because creating 50,000 YouTube accounts and subscribing myself, one, wouldn't help me, and two, I don't have that kind of time. So I love you guys. I appreciate you. If you want to support my work by doing other than subscribing, click the join button below. Become a channel member for $1.99 a month. That's different than subscribing, channel memberships. You can click the super thanks button, give immediate support, or you can go over, even better, go over to patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast. I love you guys. I appreciate you very much. Be genuine. Take care of one another.